Hello students, I am Deepika. I have made this video for you all so that you can learn, understand the chapter in a different and interesting way. So I am going to start with Geography Chapter 2, Globe, Latitudes and Longitudes for Class 6. Did you know that there is a way for you to see the entire world at a glance? Surprise, right? Yes, with the help of the globe, one can see the entire Earth at a glance. Not just the different continents and oceans, you can even see the different lines like latitudes and longitudes on the globe. So let's find out more about globe, latitudes and longitudes in this chapter. So students, in the previous chapter, you have learned that our planet Earth is not a sphere. Long ago, people thought that it was flat like a coin. But the actual shape of the Earth is geoid, which means it is slightly flattened at the north and the south pole and bulges in the middle. You can resemble it through a shape of an orange, as shown on the screen. To make the study of this huge Earth easy and on a small scale, geographers discovered globes and maps. Globe. Globe is a true model or miniature of the Earth. It shows the shape and location of the continents and oceans. Different places too can be located on a globe. Globes may be of varying size and types. There are big ones which cannot be carried easily. There are small pocket globes and globe-like balloons which can be inflated and are handy and carried with ease. The globe is not fixed. It can be rotated the same way as a topspin or a potter's wheel is rotated. A globe is a true model of the Earth in a very compact form. Why in compact form? Because we can't see areas more in detail on the globe. In a globe, there is a needle called the axis that is fixed through the globe in a tilted manner. This axis of the globe passes through two extreme points known as the poles, namely the North Pole and the South Pole. The axis is shown in the form of a needle on the globe. In reality, the Earth has no such axis. But the Earth axis is tilted towards 23.5 degrees. As every coin has its two sides, similarly, there are certain advantages and disadvantages of the globe. First, the advantages. It shows exact shape of the Earth, that is, slightly flattened at the poles and bulging at the equator. The shape of continents and oceans are shown accurately. The different physical features are also marked more or less accurately. Now, the disadvantages. It is bulky and cannot be stored easily. It cannot show the details of landforms and other location of small towns. Like, it can locate India, USA, but it cannot locate the smaller town or villages on the globe. It cannot provide detailed information about climate, vegetation, agriculture, etc. Although larger globes show some details that are difficult to carry and handle. An imaginary line running on the globe divides it into two equal parts. The equator represents the 0-degree latitude. Since the distance from the equator to either of the poles is 1/4 of a circle round the Earth, it will measure of 360 degrees, that is 90 degrees. Thus, 90 degree north latitude marks the North Pole and 90 degrees south latitude marks the South Pole. As such, all parallels north of the equator are called north latitudes. Similarly, all parallels south of the equator are called south latitude. The value of each latitude is followed either by the word N or S, that is, north or south. For example, both Chandrapur in Maharashtra and Belo Horizonte in Brazil are located on parallels of about 20° latitude, but the former is 20° north of the equator and the latter is 20° south of it. We therefore say that Chandrapur is situated at 20° north latitude and Belo Horizonte is situated at 20° south latitude. So students, an imaginary line that divides the earth into two equal halves is known as? Yes, you are correct, it is the equator. There is an imaginary line running on the globe that divides it into two equal parts. This line is known as equator. The northern half of the earth is known as the northern hemisphere, and the southern half is known as the southern hemisphere, and they both are equal halves. The equator is an imaginary line and is a very important reference point to locate places on the earth. Dear students, as discussed in the previous slide, the equator is a circle passing through the center of the earth. It is perpendicular to the axis and goes on to divide the earth into two hemispheres, the southern and the northern hemisphere. There are a number of more circles parallel to the equator. These circles have their centers on their axis and have different radii. Such circles are known as parallels of latitude. Dear students, the horizontal line that runs in east to west directions are called latitude. An interesting thing about latitude is the east to west lines get shorter as we move away from the equator towards the pole. Each latitude is separated by 1 degree, and 1 degree has 60 minutes. All parallel circles from the equator up to the poles are called parallels of latitude. The parallels are located at an equal distance from each other. There are total 181 latitudes, whereas 90 parallel latitudes are in the northern hemisphere and 90 parallel latitudes are in the southern hemisphere. And one is the equator denoted with a 0 degree. Since the distance from the equator of the pole is 1/4 of the circle round the earth, it will measure of 360, that is 90. Thus 90° north latitude and 90° south latitude. The value of each latitude is followed by either the word north or south. Generally, this is indicated by the letter N or S. For example, both Chandrapur in Maharashtra and Belo Horizonte in Brazil are located on the parallels of about 20° latitude, but the former is 20° north of the equator and the latter is 20° south of it. We say that Chandrapur is situated at 20° north latitude and Belo Horizonte is situated at 20° south latitude. As we move away from the equator, the size of the parallels of latitude decreases. So students, as you can see in this picture, there are certain degrees and names mentioned on the picture. Now, let us find out what are they and what do they depict. Towards the north, the northern hemisphere is the North Pole, associated with 90° north. Then coming on to the next, that is 66.5° north, the Arctic Circle. Then the next, the Tropic of Cancer with 23.5° north. Then the next is the Equator with 0°. Now the Southern Hemisphere. In the Southern Hemisphere, it is the Tropic of Capricorn with 23.5° south. Then the Antarctic Circle at 66.5° south. And the last is 90° south, that is the South Pole. As you have noticed that the degrees are mentioned with proper letters of N and S, which denotes that they are from the Northern Hemisphere and the others are from the Southern Hemisphere. This is one of the most important diagram of this chapter. Now, the next topic is the heat zones of the Earth. As you can see in this picture, there is the sun rays falling on the Earth but in a different angles. The sun ray towards the pole is slightly inclined and the sunlight striking towards the equator are most directly. As depicted in the previous slide, now the heat zones of the Earth are namely the torrid zone, the temperate zone and the frigid zone. Starting from the torrid zone, the midday sun is exactly overhead at least once a year on all latitudes in between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. This area receives the maximum heat and is called the torrid zone. The midday sun never shines overhead on any latitude beyond the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. The angle of the sun's rays go on decreasing towards the pole. As such, the area is bounded by the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle in the Northern Hemisphere, and the Tropic of Capricorn and Antarctic Circle in the Southern Hemisphere have moderate temperature. These are called temperate zone. Areas lying between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole in the Northern Hemisphere and the Antarctic Circle and the South Pole in the Southern Hemisphere are very cold. It is because here the sun does not rise much and its rays are always slanting and provide less heat. Therefore, are called frigid zone.